Sam Clemens.
Hello.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute delight.
How are you finding Slough?
Yeah.
Let's move on. Now, I have to say, you're sort of uniquely placed, if you don't mind me saying, in the sort of British film, TV, entertainment world. I should imagine, given your background, which we'll talk about if we can.
Of course, yeah.
You must have something of quite a broad overview of the industry. Is that true?
I suppose, yeah. I mean, growing up with a writer, you know, I didn't really realise, obviously, that my dad was doing something in a more exotic world than anyone else. But obviously, when I was growing up, you know, the dinner parties that my parents would have, they'd have, you know, there'd be directors and stuntmen and actors and people coming over. And then very quickly I started realising this doesn't feel normal to everyone else's life. And also the stories they were telling were just, you know, just amazing. And you couldn't help but be completely bewitched and romanticised into this industry, you know.
Because your father, of course, being Brian Clemens.
Yes,
A most prolific writer of, we were speaking earlier over a delicious lunch.
Yeah.
He sort of spanned the genres.
Yeah, I mean, he started in the 50s, and I found actually in the archive the other day his very first script, Valid for Single Journey, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he worked in television. I'd say most famously doing the Avengers, and the Professionals, and the Protectors.
Yes.
But he also crossed into film because he actually started in film. He started in film at the Danziger brothers, doing lots of sort of little B movies. So before he'd done television, he'd written 30 or 40 features, and then moved into television. And obviously, the British film industry was sort of dying. So all of those incredible craftsmen were still working, but in television. So they had all these incredible cinematographers and production designers that had done huge movies that were working on television. And then later on, he moved into theatre as well. I mean, I think he's sort of, you know, I mean, he's written 15 plays, and I'm still finding more in the archive and things and ideas. Lots of radio ideas as well. I think he did a little bit of radio as well. So he kind of was uniquely placed in that he wrote for almost every medium, and so I've been exposed to that, and I feel very lucky that I've trained as an actor, and I still work as an actor when people ask me occasionally.
Likewise.
High five there. We're free. We're ready. Very available. But I feel quite privileged that I get to direct audio a lot, which is sort of, I feel, my bread and butter. This is how I came into this world. Film, which is you know, maybe less frequent than this, than audio drama, and theatre. I get to direct theatre, so I feel I'm at least getting a chance to sort of work in 3 different mediums, which is lovely. And I also teach occasionally as well, which I think also helps enormously. Sort of, you know, resets you, and kind of you working with young people and their new ideas and how they're looking at things, and it keeps what you're doing fresh as well a little bit.
Do you get the sense, though, you know, looking back at his very long career from the 50s onwards and your career now, does it feel like the same world, or has the industry changed so much that it's almost a different job completely?
I think it has completely changed in the sense of that it was a very unique thing to be in this industry when he was writing. And now, you know, I don't want to be flippant about it, but anyone can obviously pick up their phone and go and make a film, or, you know, it's much easier to be in this industry, and so it's been demystified, and the kit is a lot less expensive. So you know, it's more accessible. Whereas then,
for better or for worse, do you think?
I think both. I think obviously you get some incredible stories and new voices and new ideas that maybe wouldn't have seen the light of day back then. But then obviously you've just got so much more of it to wade through. You know, I mean, how often do we, you know, go through Netflix or any of the streaming channels, and then you go, I haven't actually chosen anything. I've been looking for an hour, you know, and I haven't actually picked anything, and it's just it's too much sometimes. So I think it is a completely different industry. I think obviously I think the budgets have changed. I think that certainly what you know, what Dad was being paid at the time would have been incredibly handsome then, and I think it's a lot less for the same, if not more, effort now. But I did discover there's one thing that felt quite bizarre and serendipitous. When I made my first feature, The Waterhouse, which we were taking to Cannes this year, I realised, but I know I didn't design this at all, but when Dad was directing Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter for Hammer Horror, that was his only film as a director, we were exactly the same age when we were directing it. Really? So it felt quite weird to then go, And by that point in his career, he'd already done all of the Avengers had been done. You know, there was a huge career in Hammer Horror. And
Don't measure yourself by that.
It was like, I think things are a little bit different. You know? So I feel I'm playing catch up a little bit, but you know.
So, well, this week and next week we'll be talking about, if we can, your life and career so far.
Yeah, well,
as well, it's a special interest, of course, in your more recent Anderson connection with Big Finish and Anderson Entertainment, having directed both Thunderbirds and Stingray, I think, for audio. Is that right?
That is, yeah. Very kindly, Jamie and Nick Briggs asked me if I'd like to direct Thunderbirds was the first one, and then Stingray was straight afterwards, adapting some of the novels into audios, and then moving on into the comic strips later on. And I mean, they're just a delight to work on, and you know, please, more of them, please. You know, they're just so much fun to do.
Great. Well, we'll talk more about those later on, but let me take you back to young Sam Clemens. What was he watching back in the day? What caught your eye as a child?
I mean, I suppose I'm the big. We were talking about this earlier, that I was in that period where Doctor Who was off television really when I was young. I think it went off in 88 or 89, and I was 9 then. So I was probably at the perfect age for it to get you.
Yes.
And because it wasn't there, the things that got me really, I suppose, was Star Wars, I would say. I mean, I was, obsessed with Star Wars. Yeah. I Wizard of Oz. You know, we had these old videotapes of all of those of the trilogy of the original Star Wars 4, 5, 6 and the Wizard of Oz, and I must have watched them. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Yeah. I mean, and then I think as I grew up, my dad was always quite good at good or bad, I don't know. He didn't really worry about censorship in what we could watch. He would say, "Look, I'm going to tell you this is maybe an adult film, but it's up to you. And at some point, you'll frighten yourself, and you'll find your own barrier of what you're happy with or you're not happy with." Okay. And so I feel my favourite movie. I remember this because when we went to Los Angeles because my dad was doing. He was flown out there to do a series. And he was there for quite a long time, and I only remember because we went to visit him. It was the only time that he was actually away from home because he wrote completely from home all the time. And they were shooting and behind our hotel, Terminator 2. And my favourite film at that point was Terminator, and I must have been about 10 or 11. But I grew up on, I suppose, those type of films. So Alien, Terminator, Aliens, RoboCop, which are all hard 18 films.
Yeah, absolutely right, yes.
But I mean, that's what I kind of grew up loving, as well as the Back to the Futures and the Indiana Joneses and all those kind of adventure stories and films. I suppose my sensibility was much more American in what I liked, I suppose, than British when I was growing up. Not that I didn't like it, I just was exposed, I think, to more of it. And then lots of animation. I think He-Man was a big one as a kid. Mask, Transformers, all of which I think owe an enormous amount to Thunderbirds.
Absolutely right.
That transformation from one guys, and then they flip into something else. I was thinking about this on the journey here. That they all owe an enormous amount to Gerry Anderson and Thunderbirds, particularly, and Stingray.
But there's the one name that didn't appear in that list of things you were watching as a child. Gerry Anderson, of course.
Absolutely, yeah. That was the other thing that didn't. I didn't really. I mean, I was aware of it because I remember having a Thunderbird 2.
Right.
But not really going, this is a cool vehicle. This is amazing. Yeah. What's it from? I didn't really know what it was from or like how it connected because I was playing obviously with my Star Wars toys and He-Man and G.I. Joe or whatever it was. But it didn't really matter. But so I remember using it, but I had no concept of what it was really from at that period because it just wasn't. It wasn't in my in my wheelhouse at the time. I wasn't being exposed to it at the time.
Which might put you, some people might think, at something of a disadvantage for the game we are about to play, which is called Super Identification. Because, Sam, we're going to show you some very quick clips from each of Gerry's 18, I think, TV series. And they are very quick. Okay. So when you see one that you know, shout out.
I just shout the name out, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll see how you do.
Oh,
okay, ready for this?
Yes, here we go.
Right. But early days, very early days.
Oh, no.
Gone.
No.
Still in black and white.
Yeah. Oh. And they are quick, aren't they?
They're very quick. I think
No, this is terrible.
we'll be heading into familiar territory pretty soon.
Thunderbirds.
Wrong.
Oh! There we go. Thunderbirds doing really well.
Well done.
Captain Scarlet.
Yes, good.
Oh, Joe 90.
Good. Very obscure, this one.
No.
Too late.
Yeah. UFO.
Well done. Yes.
I should know that. I'm in.
Absolutely.
Protect us.
Good.
Should know that one as well.
Yeah.
Thank gosh.
This is an emergency.
Terrorhawks.
Good.
Gosh.
Very good.
It's quick. Oh god. Oh, what was?
Oh, what was that one?
That was that one.
Yeah.
Favored right across the universe.
And finally,
Yeah. Is that
yeah,
Captain Scarlet again?
It is.
It is. Oh, it is. Okay, cool.
That's New Captain
Oh,
Scarlet.
that was-
The remake. Well done, Sam.
So about 3.
7 points, Sam. That's
7
not bad
points.
as well. Yeah.
That's a lot better than I was expecting.
Well, if you look around the table here, I think that. Okay, 8, 7, 6, 10. I think we have had people as low as 2. So
Okay.
7 is very respectable.
I mean, I feel like I should know more because I went to the Standby for Action concert
Yes.
with which they played all of them, and
Yes.
I should have paid way more attention because at the time I was like, oh yes,
That's right.
and so I remember I was going, oh,
I know, and it is very quick, and then you're on to the next one. I think, I should really have given you Stingray because I know that you knew Stingray.
yeah,
but,
no, that's fine.
but
It's because I was being a complete fool.
Space Precinct as well, you were almost
Yes,
angling for
yes.
at the end there, the police procedural. But there we are. There's your 7 points.
Yay!
So we'll stick that on the edge of the table. That's very creditable. Well
Thank you
done.
very much.
So let's talk about then, from knowing very little about Gerry Anderson, suddenly you find yourself immersed in the worlds of Anderson.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, I mean, it was really weird because obviously not knowing about Gerry Anderson, but I heard the name Gerry Anderson because my dad knew Gerry and they shared, they were not shared an office, but they had offices down the corridor from each other. So they
Pinewood, would that have been, or
Yeah,
elsewhere?
Was it Elstree?
Elstree?
I think so. I want to say there. It probably won't be, and I'll be in trouble for getting the wrong one. But yes, one of the studios they
Yeah.
were there, and I think they used to get on quite famously, quite well. So I'd heard of Gerry a lot over the years, and had never met him, and obviously knew that he had made Thunderbirds and Stingray, but hadn't really. It just because it wasn't on TV, and I didn't have the videos at the time. I just wasn't obviously seeing it. So when how I got into this was that I was working as a director for Big Finish Productions because I was an actor previously, and I'd done a few because I met Nick Briggs on stage. So I didn't even know Nick Briggs was the voice of the Daleks.
Right.
I didn't know that he ran Big Finish. I
Yeah.
just knew he was an actor playing Sherlock Holmes in this play that I was opposite him, and we got on really well. And then he sort of invited me to come and do a couple of episodes of varying things. One of them was to do the play as an audio, which is Holmes and the Ripper, which is one of Dad's plays that we did.
Right.
And then a couple of Doctor Who's, and we sort of obviously kept in touch and everything. And then I directed a play of my dad's called Strictly Murder, which is what I'm trying to turn into a film at the moment, which, touch wood, is looking good.
Yeah.
And I directed the stage show, and a friend of mine who was a fellow actor came to see it, and he loved it and said, I want you to direct my audio drama for Big Finish. And I was like, A, I didn't know that you wrote anything, and B, what? And
Yes.
C, I've never directed audio. What are you talking about? And that was Nigel Fairs. And this was for Shilling and Sixpence Investigate, and that was starring David Warner and Celia Imrie. And so I obviously said yes. I obviously was pretty nervous, like my first one in with heavyweight David Warner. But I was like, obviously I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
And that was my sort of introduction was that, and it was a huge sprawling sort of like Agatha Christie-esque, twist and turn thriller, and it was huge with a quite a small cast, multi-rolling enormously. Like one of the actors played 9 characters in it, and I think from that's when I obviously passed the test of not totally ruining it.
Yes,
So
giving you a call.
yeah, so I got a call
Yeah.
to say, did I want to do a Doctor Who, and this is when I was really exposed to Doctor Who. to do a Seventh Doctor with Sylvester McCoy, and I acted with him before, and so anyway, that didn't go too badly, or so I was told by the powers that be, and so they kept asking me to do more and more, and I kept saying yes because what an amazing opportunity it was to get to work with such incredible writers and talent and actors, and and to cut your teeth working on genre story, is just a delight really, and not like my dad, but in a way similar. So I felt this sort of felt
home territory.
I feel like what is your USP or what is your thing? I think mine is probably genre because I grew up with a genre writer, so I understand it quite intrinsically, I suppose. And then Nick called me and said, "Look, we're thinking about doing Thunderbirds, and would you be interested in directing? It would be through Anderson Entertainment." And I was like, absolutely. I mean, again, I had obviously seen a few episodes by this point, and I was more aware of Thunderbirds than I was when I was a kid. Again, not like, it wasn't something that I watched a lot. So it was but it was a challenge. I thought, well, and the idea was to try and keep it as authentic as possible to the 60s, and have voice actors to try and recreate the same tone and style.
So not to reimagine, not to reboot.
Not really, no. To kind of continue it on in that spirit, because I think because of the reboots that had happened, and I went to drama school with someone that was in the movie. And I don't think that went down particularly well. I'm probably mentioning it on here as sacrilege, but I think I felt, a kinship because that happened to my dad with the Avengers. The Avengers movie was an absolute disaster, and so I felt that the idea of doing something faithfully, the way that it was, it started out was a nice. It felt kind of fresh in a weird way to do it authentically to the period as much as possible. So it was a challenge. I'd worked with John Coleshaw once before. I hadn't really worked with any of the others at all. But I just thought, for me, if it frightens me, and I always feel like this as an actor, I say yes, because it always isn't maybe as frightening as you think it's going to be, and you learn something about yourself and maybe what you're capable of, or maybe you learn another weakness that you've got to work on, that's another area of yourself to work on. And I can only, praise the Anderson team because they just welcome me completely with open arms and have been so, accepting and nourishing, I suppose, to my, lack of knowledge within it. But I mean, how I approach it is I just approach it as a story. I'm lucky that I get to sort of direct film, which might be a bit more genre-based. It might be a bit more sort of more R-rated. In theatre, it can kind of vary and whatever. But sometimes even in drama school, I'll be directing Chekhov.
Yeah, sure.
And that's very difficult to do. So to be able to go from that to this, it feels strange, but it's you're just telling a story. So you've got to identify what it is, and what the objectives are of everyone and what everyone wants from each other. And it's no different, really. It's the same. So I can only approach it that way a little bit.
Did you feel anything of the responsibility of having that weight of the previous series and all those decades of veneration that you had to try and recreate?
Absolutely, but I think having Jamie's blessing is what made me feel confident with it, because obviously, he's taking care of his father's legacy, and I'm in a not a dissimilar position with some of my father's work. So I think I understood what that means, in here. So yes, but then I felt I've already had a huge crash course in that with Doctor Who, because again, I wasn't a Who fan, not because I didn't like it, and now retrospectively I think it's fantastic. I love it, and I go back and I watch loads of episodes, but again, I can only approach it as a story. So I'd already done that in one huge franchise, and survived.
Yes.
Live to fight another day. So I felt that this would be, another challenge, but one I wanted to explore it. I really wanted to explore. I just thought a property of this size and this scope and such ingenuity and something that has influenced and touched so many people. How could I not say yes? I mean, the worst they'd say is that was terrible. Thank you very
Don't
much.
do it again.
Yeah, we'll hire someone else. But and so I was prepared for that. You know, they might go another direction or want someone else. But they, you know, thankfully they haven't. So to say.
So not an early adopter by any means of the Anderson work, but you still have your first Anderson memories, and you were kind enough to send me one to share. So
Yes.
let's have a look at Sam Clemens' first Anderson memory.
Here we go.
There he is.
False advertising. Yes.
This is the one.
Yeah, I just think this sequence has just inspired so many movies. Because it reminded me when I watched it recently, because I was watching them again for research. I was like, this is like The Dark Knight Rises. It's like the opening of that.
Okay.
And then there was a conversation about it being similar to Bond. And obviously all the Mission Impossible films with Tom Cruise now, I think are directly lifting from lots of these sequences.
I'm going to try and board now. Target 1. Give me more cable, a foot at a time. Coming up now.
Even the Bane mask. Yes.
Coming up now.
Coming up now.
Again. One more time. Hold it. Okay. Count of 5 and then up. 5. 4.
It's great.
3. 2. 1. Now. Cut cable.
There you go. Thunderbirds Trapped in the Sky, I think,
yeah,
the
Trapped in
particular
the Sky.
sequence. And you're right, it did spawn.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure. I'm sure Christopher Nolan has mentioned it somewhere. I'm sure that he was a fan of this because it fits his sort of his style really. It's that there are huge sequences that are very real and very sort of there's a lot of danger in it. And I actually went to drama school with Tom Hardy. He was in my years. It's kind of always interesting watching anything with him in it.
But I think the scale of and scope of the ambition in Gerry Anderson and his team in the 60s to be producing things like that we're still stealing in effect now for our blockbuster movies is quite extraordinary. Isn't it?
I mean, I honestly that's what. When I came to watching it, most recently before doing the audio dramas, and that's what struck me more than anything was just the sheer scale of it, and that they feel like huge, big movies.
Yeah,
and I think that's why they're so enduring. Is that they haven't really dated in that way because of the realism of it and because it's practical, because you kind of know, your eye knows it's real. The explosions are real, and it's the tactile nature of it. It doesn't feel synthetic.
So how do you capture that for an audio production? How do you capture that cinematic, filmic quality, the epic scale in an audio production? Is it possible?
I think it's difficult but I think we underestimate our imagination. It's like when you read a book and your imagination of it is that's why I think a lot of the time when you watch a movie of the book, you go, it's disappointing because it doesn't match your imagination. There are a few. I think The Godfather was very similar to what came out. I think Lord of the Rings, particularly on that scale, is something that was very similar or probably even bigger. Certainly when I read it, it felt the movies were bigger than they were in my head. So I have to sort of give over to the audience's imagination a little bit, but I can only help tease it a little bit. And I think that sound design obviously plays an enormous part of it, and just a well placed sort of lock and load of getting into a chair or a seatbelt going on or coming off, or a door opening and then you hear the flapping or something like that. That helps you start to understand, the door's open.
Yes.
The wind's rushing in, the danger's right there. Okay. So you start populating it with your imagination. And obviously the score, I think, is an enormous part of it. And we were so lucky to get Joe Kramer, Hollywood composer Joe Kramer, who did Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, and Jack Reacher to do it. And he really is, the real deal in the sense that he's not like Hans Zimmer in his way that he composes. It's not sort of big strokes and drones. It's much more a kind of Jerry Goldsmith, John Williams, sort of orchestral way of working, a bit like Barry Gray, I suppose. It's quite similar, and that's needed more in audio because I suppose they used to call it like Mickey Mousing, is sort of hitting moments musically to tell you what's going on.
Okay.
And as cinema has progressed, that's become less and less and less and less.
Yes.
And like Thomas Newman or Hans Zimmer, they play like a feeling for a long
That's
period.
right.
Whereas John Williams still plays all the little moments and the feelings. And that's gone out of fashion a bit. And hopefully maybe it will come back. That's why we have less themes, I think.
Yeah.
But in audio, that can be incredibly helpful, and I think it gives the composer an enormous freedom to do that, to help storytell, to fill in the blanks because obviously in Thunderbirds you go, right, Thunderbirds are go, and you're like, right, well now we've got a 2-minute sequence with no dialogue.
That's right.
How are we gonna do this? Obviously we have the music and the sound design, but I think music plays an enormous part in it, more than I think film in this way.
Interesting. Now, you may have noticed this wonderful Space 1999 lunchbox here.
Love it.
That we have courtesy of Robert Taylor, who picked this up in the US for us and sent it through. It's full of questions from our viewers and listeners.
Wow.
For you. So we'll have some this week and some next week.
Okie dokie.
Give them a bit of a shake-up. So take out a handful of those and let's get through 3 or 4 of them, shall we?
Okay, here we go.
Great.
Hopefully I haven't got all of them.
No, there's plenty left. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Can't believe we've got so many questions. Thank you very much. Okay, Stuart James Lusher.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Sam. I enjoy the audiobooks of Stingray and Thunderbirds. Will there be any more audio stories? And which is your favourite audiobook episode?
Wow.
Well, firstly, I hope so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. Is the answer to that. I don't know as of yet. But I'm praying to the Thunderbird gods and Stingray gods above that we get more of them. My favourite, God, it's really hard. I think one of the latest sets, there was a really lovely one that Genevieve Gaunt wrote about sort of the backstory of Parker and Lady Penelope. And that was really lovely because it's sort of, I mean, there's so many episodes that I love, actually. It's really, really hard. But I think of that one particularly helps you explore that relationship and what they mean to each other. Because you only get that as you're going on the road with the other characters. Do you know what I mean? You're discovering it whilst they're on a mission in, peril. But it was quite nice to sort of have moments to understand how they met, and how they formed this, incredible partnership. And so there was something, it felt really special recording that. And it felt quite special that I suppose Genevieve was adapting this story for it, playing obviously Lady Penelope.
Yeah.
So I think that one, we all had a lot of fun doing that, I remember. And those ones particularly, we record them in a slightly different way than we recorded the adaptations of the books, in which we record them live, like a play.
Yeah.
So we do them from beginning to end, and we run them in one go, and then we have some notes and do it again. So you get a real sense of flow. So for an actor, it's great because you get a sense of a beginning, middle, and end rather than these start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. So it's more like doing a piece of theatre in a way. And that, I think, lent itself really well to this story because there was a real sort of beginning of a relationship, a forming of it, and then a kind of solidification of it over that journey. Yeah. And you really got to live that. So I think that was probably the one that stuck with me as maybe my favourite to record.
Yeah, very good. Let's have another question.
Okay, another question. Jonathan Westall.
Oh, yes.
Out of all the Stingray and Thunderbirds audios that you've directed, which one did you find the most challenging and why?
Okay, that's a difficult question, isn't it?
That is. And I think, God, what was the most challenging? That's, I think doing the audio book, the novel adaptations are probably harder. And they're probably harder because Wayne Forrester had so much to do. And so we would spend, a couple of days or a day with the cast, but then we'd have a whole day or more with Wayne.
Just Wayne.
And also trying to find the right tone of voice that goes under the music, so he's not being drowned out by the sound design and the music, and when to lift it and pull it back. And it's really hard, particularly the first time, because you have nothing to compare it to yet until you've done one.
I see.
So I think probably, I think it's Operation Asteroids, I think was the first one. That was probably the most challenging because it was the first one, and we were all finding our feet. And how is this going to work? And all the actors were sort of making sure that they stayed in the right voices and also establishing the right voices. So I remember Justin sort of trying to differentiate between his voices and and not making them too sort of comical, I suppose. So that was probably the most challenging because it was not just for me. I think it was for everyone finding what this beast is to then take it into the next ones.
Yeah. Good.
Cool.
Another, I think.
One more, Okay.
A couple there or one more?
Yeah, we've got two more.
Yeah, let's crack on.
Here we go. Oh, this is a big one. Morty Vicker. Sam, I'm looking forward to the new audio works we've heard being hinted at covering the Anderson universe and hoping that you'll be a big part of that. I especially enjoyed your updated version of UFO's Alec Freeman for Big Finish. Why, thank you. Yes. What would you view as being more fun, though, acting as an Anderson character or directing?
Tricky question.
Yeah. Well, I love both actually, and the more I direct, it's that thing. When I'm directing, I'm missing acting. And when I'm acting, I'm like, oh, I wish I was in control of this a little bit. Sometimes, sometimes not all the time, but I mean, but there is a real having acted for so many years and then transitioned more into directing, and now this sort of being more of what I do more than anything else. When I get to go back to acting, there is a kind of freedom. In that I can, there's the pressure of obviously performing, and there's the pressure of getting it, getting it accurate and listening and reacting and all that kind of stuff. But I only have that one job to think about, as opposed to thinking of the story, everyone else. So it in some ways it's a bit more of a relief acting. So, and I loved playing Alec Freeman, and I hope there are more of UFO because I think that you're just starting. You need a couple of these to start finding your way. I mean, if you think about the TV series or any of these, they have, so many episodes with which to learn and to grow and to push. So I think that was probably, I don't know. I don't know. I like both, but I loved playing Alec Freeman, and I would love to do more.
Great, good. Another question there?
Yeah, last one. Here we go. Yeah. Steve Bushell. Okay, hi Sam. Having recently written and directed The Waterhouse, which has an impressive 8 out of 10 star review on IMDb.
Wow.
Wow. Hopefully that lasts.
Yeah.
When will you be collaborating with Jamie to get a feature film made of UFO featuring the wonderful Wanda Ventham?
Yes, that's what we want to know.
I mean,
when is that going to happen?
Clearly, this is the pitch. Let's go. Thank you, Steve, for the kickoff.
Can you imagine a universe where you might be, involved in some sort of big screen Anderson production somehow?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, I mean, I'd absolutely love to be involved in something on of Gerry's work or an adaptation of his work. I mean, it's so vast and iconic, and I think there's room for change if you wanted to, or updating or not, as we were discussing earlier. But I would absolutely love to do something like that. But I think it needs a healthy budget, I think, to do it well, and to do it well now without it just being entirely, CGI entirely. I think there needs to be an element of. I think if you weren't doing some practical level in this, that would be a missed opportunity, given where it's come, its heritage and where it's come from. I think a healthy collaboration, maybe between that and visual effects or virtual production, would be where it might sit nicely, for example. But I would, sign me up. Yes, so Jamie, let's go.
Great. And film and TV at the moment, AI and where we all stand on it. And a few people are a little disconcerted about it. Others are embracing it fully. Where do you stand on it? As a writer, as a director, how's it going to help or hinder, do you think?
I mean, I think we're yet to sort of really discover those things. But I'm just sort of amazed that it's in the entertainment world so much. Yeah. I think most people are, that it's sort of doing artwork and music and writing and I think it's that Black Mirror episode, Joan is Awful. I don't know if you've seen that, but that really is sort of where we don't want to be, I think. But I think it, I'm sure many people have tried it and used it as a tool. I've used it a little bit in the ChatGPT side. We tried something. This was interesting when it first started. We prompted, can you write a synopsis or a short story in the style of Brian Clemens?
Oh, nice.
And it did.
Did it?
And it was quite good.
Wow.
And then we asked it to translate it into German because my friend was German, to see what the translation was like. And he's like, this is really good. This is not like Google, Google Translate. This is very, very... So that was my first interaction with it. And that was quite strange and weird. But we can't stop it now. That's, it's going to be part of our lives. So I think it's a way, regulating it is important. I think obviously the strikes were important for it at this point. Otherwise, where do you go? I think the thing that worries me, is music a lot, because where does the copyright live, or who's it with? And I think the problem with it is if it can do all these things so well, then there's nothing special about making anything anymore. And so it might split into things that are made by AI and things that are not made by AI, and there might be audiences that love that, and there might be young people that love that, because I'm sure in the future you'll be able to say, I really want to see a film where Scott Tracy is in the world of Back to the Future, where He-Man turns up,
directed by Stanley Kubrick.
But directed by Stanley Kubrick. Go, and it will spit a half an hour video out of that, and that's kind of an interesting idea. But I think the human experience or whatever our experiences are what make us worth watching something. I mean, like watching the documentary about Gerry Anderson that Jamie made, and that this idea came from his brother, or and from World War II.
That's right. Yes.
Without that trauma and that experience, we wouldn't be sat here, and so I don't know how that is going to work in an AI format. I think that your life experiences make you who you are and what you're interested in, and that's what we're always trying to do. I think, particularly as a director, you're always looking at the script, trying to understand why the writer wrote this and what inspired this, so you can be as authentic as possible, and it gives you clues into maybe how to play it or how to best serve the material. Yeah. And I don't know how you would do that with AI, because how are you going to... It sort of has all memory. Yeah. It doesn't have its own memory. It has everyone else's memory.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. Yeah. Very interesting. Now, a little later on, we'll be having some more questions from our viewers and listeners. We'll also be delving a little bit more into your work with Anderson Entertainment on the audio side, listening to a clip or two. But before we get there, I asked you in our email exchange previously to let me know your favourite Anderson moment. And you picked something rather close to home to you. So let's have a listen to this.
This is Space Intruder Detector. All systems tested and online.
From Big Finish Productions, UFO, Breaking Point.
Activation confirmed. Thank you, Reactor Control. We have full power to all land-based systems.
Surely it can't just be a coincidence that the aliens had sent more UFOs to test our defenses when Sid went online.
You mean they're somehow getting information on Shadow's operations?
Somehow, or from someone.
Are you from the military? Because if you are the reason my life is over.
Commander Straker to medical bay. Commander, but how are you already here?
You put a call out about 3 minutes ago.
No one will talk about it. It wasn't just your military aircraft, it was something else. An unidentified flying object. I saw a UFO, clear as day.
You're suggesting that Foster and every inch of Sky 2 was vaporized?
He just stopped, like he's frozen.
UFO Breaking Point. How lucky for you. I asked you what your favourite Anderson memory was, and it's something you were in.
Yeah, well, I mean, that sounds awful.
No,
it's all
really.
about me.
Not at all.
I think it was my favourite memory because I got to be in it.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want that? You know. So, and when Nick called me and said, "I'd really like you to, if you'd be up for it, to play Alec Freeman," I was like, "What?" I'm like, because I thought, having done Thunderbirds, do you want me to try and recreate what they did back,
Yes.
when it was made, and
a slightly different remit for UFO.
yes,
wasn't it?
that they were able to sort of change it a little bit. Like, the storylines are kind of the same; they kind of hit the same beats, but it's a bit, I suppose, like maybe what they did with The Walking Dead. Was The Walking Dead, the comic book, was one thing, and then the TV show is this. It's not the same, but it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
But the writers can kind of go off piste and do what they want to get there.
Yeah.
And I think this was a little bit different. So it wasn't going to be, we're literally doing the same script, and Nick didn't want it to be an impression at all. Yeah. So that kind of freed it up, and he wanted just to use my voice, which I was like, you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, well, fine, yeah. And
That's easy.
but that took a while actually to get used to, because I felt like I didn't envisage myself in that role until you're doing it, because you don't get any rehearsal, obviously. Yeah. You don't meet anyone until you're there, and I didn't meet Barnaby at all. It was all down the line on clean feed. So that was interesting. So you're finding it in the booth a little bit. But when we
but do you enjoy that sort of seat of your pants stuff? Do you enjoy having that moment of terror where you've got to pull something out the hat right now? Do you get a thrill from that?
Yes and no. I like to know what I'm doing, so at least I feel that there's some logic in what I'm doing, so I can at least argue why I've decided to do something, or that there's an idea. But equally, sometimes just letting go and just reacting off what you're given, you're not being untruthful with it. You're just reacting in the moment. It might not be the right tone, for example, that you're trying to create. And that's what I think we did in the first one. We were it was a bit trial and error, and then I was like, okay, so, Nick wants him to be a little bit more like this, or a little bit like this. So I sort of felt I was giving other versions, and they was like, okay, no, let's streamline to this. So when we came to the second one, that was a lot easier. We kind of had found it, and we were like, okay, this was much easier to slot back in and start playing now, and sort of explore the relationships a bit more. Because I think the first time we did it, we felt like you were you're focusing on yourself a little bit, because you're trying to find this version of it. Whereas afterwards, I could let that go and just play with the others, play with the other actors.
Yeah. Given your family background, your dad, Brian Clemens, being a prolific writer in the business, of course, were you always destined for this? Was there a moment where a light bulb was lit up in your mind that this is what you should do, or was it just what you were always going to do?
I mean, as I said,
did you study law at university?
No,
or veterinary
I
science?
definitely did not study law. I was not good at school. I definitely was not academic, and I used to be quite good at sports and drama, and I suppose English I quite enjoyed, and things like classical civilization I ended up doing, because it was basically stories. It was Greek mythological stories. So I kind of, again, it was storytelling, and I it's weird that I do audio drama, because I grew up listening to audio tapes to go to sleep called Storyteller, and they were all famous people telling stories, and they were all, they could be Grimm's fairy tales, or they could have been Greek stories or whatever. But my imagination was fired up from a very young age of story. So I suppose growing up in a household where it's like walking onto the set of the Avengers, that's kind of, our house is like a set. It's I mean, it's great.
That's what we want to hear. That's a lovely image.
It really is totally mad. And it still is. We've obviously cleared a few things out, but we've kept some nice things there. But you're inspired by chaos, and you're inspired. It's not like, it's definitely not an IKEA showroom. It's the complete opposite. And in some ways, that chaos breeds ideas. Yeah. And I think watching my dad consistently being inspired by sometimes the smallest of things that would be a kernel of an idea that would come out in a whole storyline for something that he was writing at the time was always like mystified me. But as I've got older, I understand what those things are, whether it's a newspaper or it's an article, whether it's he's read a book or read something and he's taken a bit from that and a bit from this and a bit from that and then meshed them together in some way. So when I was growing up, I knew I wasn't going to be a writer, even though I've subsequently been writing for film, for my film stuff. I just thought I can't compete with with this. It's just, you know, it's not. So I wanted to be an actor. Really, I wanted to be a Jedi. And I was like, how to become a Jedi?
Fine.
Oh, I have to be an actor.
Yeah, fair
okay,
enough.
cool. Yeah. And then that's how I sort of learned that. And then I remember when I was about 12, 13 or something, we did Oh What a Lovely War at school. And I said, you know, I'm really considering, like, this is what I really love doing and I'd like to do this. And obviously Dad worked in that industry and knows how difficult it really is. And that it's, I don't know if the statistics are still the same, but I think it's still 96% of actors are out of work, 2% are in and out, and 2% are always working. So if you're going to be working, you're in that top 4%, which is very, very difficult. So he came along to this school play and said, I'm going to tell you if I think it's worth you pursuing it or not. Not in a kind of cruel way, but in a kind of, I don't want you to be doing something where, you know, you're going to be deeply unhappy the whole of your life. So anyway, he came along and I obviously was terrified that I was going to be dreadful. But it felt, again, it was a bit of a challenge. And I knew what I was doing, I think at the time was okay, and I could only judge it in my 12-year-old brain that was getting laughs from people and things. But it went down well, and he said, I think you've got something. I think you should do it. So then in A level, I then majored in sort of theatre studies at the time, which is the closest that we had. There was 4 of us. That shows you how many.
Great.
It was an all-boys school, so there wasn't many uptakes for it. And then I applied to a couple of drama schools, and the one that I attended was the Drama Centre London, which was actually a mistake on my UCAS form. I'd put down, I don't know how I did it, for the Central School of Speech and Drama bizarrely for a puppetry course.
Right, there you go. So you really are at home.
Really are at home now. And they said, do you really want to do that? I was like, no, I wanted the acting course. I'd obviously put the wrong digit down. And they said, well, you have to pick a university between A and D. And so I just flipped the book open and went and was like, D, Drama Centre. Okay, well, that looks cool. Let's apply to that. Got the prospectus through and then auditioned and knew very, very little. And I'm so glad that I didn't know anything, because if I had known, there was a whole documentary on it about drama school, but about Drama Centre, which was terrifying in the 90s. And if I'd seen that, I probably wouldn't have gone. But anyway, I went to the audition. They obviously saw that I, you know, was quite malleable and quite, I didn't come with too many bad habits, because even though I was acting in school plays, there was a kid in the year above me and below me that were child actors and were doing professional work. So they'd always get most of the lead roles. So I never really played a lead role at all. So I was quite green even when I went to drama school. So I wasn't very confident at all. But anyway, maybe that's what got me in. And so that's when, and that really ignited, because I had this sort of, my actual father, who was sort of inspired me in all of this storytelling and drama and entertainment and filmmaking and the history of film. And I didn't really realise I was getting an education, but he's showing me Harold Lloyd films and, you know, Spencer Tracy movies. And then I'd show him, I don't know, Fight Club or something. And, you know, we'd share films. But then when I went to drama school, I kind of met a tutor there who sadly passed away recently, called Christopher Fetters, who was a real, people bandy this word around a lot, like when they say genius, but he really, really was on that plane. He thought very differently to most people, and he kind of unlocked this sort of. I would describe him as sort of my art father.
Okay,
do you know what I mean? He
like
sort of
that,
unlocked that side, maybe more, I suppose, more Shakespeare or Chekhov or, you know, Molière, or where he started understanding those parts of great writing and the theatre and the history of theatre, and combining those two together, I think, is what fuels me now, is sort of trying to, you know, that both of those worlds are valid. And both of them, you know, deserve to have a platform. And I love to see if I can mesh them together in some way. So I think I was always going to be on it from my dad's side, but when I went to drama school, that unlocked a whole nother side that I didn't know I had, because at school, the academia, it didn't connect with me, but I did through that, because it wasn't about writing essays. It was like, cool, get up and show me it. If you have an idea, show me it, and then you could do it, physicalize it or whatever, and then you would have a sensoric experience of what that was like.
Yeah, amazing, like it. remember this?
Yes.
We have more questions from our viewers and listeners. If you want to take up the rest there, there's
wow,
a little
okay.
pile at the bottom. And we'll get
Okay.
through those. Thank you very much.
Okay. John Reeder. Hi, Sam. Having successfully directed several Anderson audios, would you have liked to direct the original TV shows? Yes, I know that you're not old enough, being hypothetical. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, because going back and watching them, as I said before, I was just blown away by the filmmaking.
Yeah.
I was like, how have they done this? I wanted to know how would you make this work? How can you get this scale? How can you get the action? How do you get the movement and the dynamism into it and keep the characters alive in it? Absolutely. I would, I mean, it's something I've never done. I've not, but again, as you've discovered, I quite like a challenge. So yes, in a short answer, John,
Great.
yes.
Absolutely,
yes.
yeah.
So please, let's make that happen.
Make that happen, yeah, that'd be nice.
There's lots to be making happen would be good.
Yeah.
Paul Hyder.
Uh-huh.
Hi Sam, when directing, how do you tread the line between allowing the actors to have fun or ad lib, etc., and getting the work done properly
What could it
and on
possibly
time?
mean?
What are you talking about? We never deviate from the script.
Do you often, when you're acting, do you often look at yourself with a kind of director's eye and think, I wouldn't let me get away with this?
I mean, sometimes we're like, we are having way too much fun. Yeah. We are messing about a lot.
Yeah.
But I think you need that. You need that camaraderie in some way in it. So yes, it is a healthy balance between it of allowing them to have a lot of fun and keeping it fun, because ultimately it's such a privileged position to be in, and I think it's important to have fun. I think when it becomes arduous, which it, I've experienced that too on particularly on stage and on film, that it can be really, really tough.
Yeah.
And luckily, this job never is. It's always so much fun. I mean, when you've got someone like Mark Silk, who is just so hilarious. I mean, he's like directing a cartoon. You just don't know what is his real voice. But
right.
it's so... I mean, it's just so much fun that you get to work with these incredible voice artists.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously we go down very comedic routes sometimes, and we have to steer the ship back on.
Absolutely.
Much easier in the comic strip ones when you have to do it from beginning to end.
Ah, yes.
Because it's like you're on stage.
Yeah.
So that stops that. I mean, obviously you can see if someone's made someone laugh, they're desperately trying to hold it together to not ruin it. But yeah.
Yeah, great. Another one?
Yeah. Okay. Dom Riley. Mm-hmm. Which out of the audio dramas did you enjoy making the most, and why? Mm-hmm. Oh, God. I mean, obviously I mentioned that episode before that Genevieve adapted,
That's right.
which I love doing. But I think the comic strip adaptations generally, I would say I've enjoyed making more because of that structure of doing it like a play.
So that feels like it's very familiar territory to you, does it?
Yeah, I think that it's not only that it's familiar, but you feel like you're getting more in the can.
Yeah.
You feel like
you
you're
can
getting
see your progress.
Yeah, and you can start, I don't know, seeing it come together, and the actors really react off each other, and you're not having to do it in such small bits and hope that you've got the tone right. So I think doing it that way feels quite old school, and that sort of feels right for for Thunderbirds.
Yeah, great.
Cool. Andrew Clemens.
Oh yes, we know him well.
What is Team Action Comb, and who are its founding members?
Go on.
Team Action Comb. As we were discussing ad-libbing, that was Wayne Forrester. Get your free action comb. And so whenever we would finish, or not even finish, I think sometimes he would always ad-lib, quickly, at the end of this, please get your free action comb. Only free. And he'd do the terms and conditions apply. And he'd have a whole rabble off. And the founding members
Very
are clearly
good.
Wayne, Andrew.
Yeah.
I feel because I facilitated it, I could be a founding member.
Excellent.
But yes, I'm hoping that we can get a spin-off and maybe some merch.
I could see that
I think
happening.
we need an action comb.
Yeah,
Jamie,
that's good.
an action comb,
That's great.
please.
I could see one on the table in
Exactly.
future podcasts. That's perfect. Yeah.
Shall I do another one?
Yeah. Let's have a couple more.
Yeah. Okay. Peach Harding.
Oh yes.
I hope I said that right. Apart from Thunderbirds and Stingray, are there any other Anderson series that you would like to direct an audiobook for?
Well, you saw last time when we played Super Identification that huge long list of opening credits, 18 of them. Were any there that you would quite like to have a go at?
Yeah, I mean,
Dick Spanner?
I think I don't know. There's quite a lot actually. I think they, the properties are so rich that I think you could do any of them with it really.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd quite like to. I think Terrorhawks would be fun.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun one to do.
Yeah, great.
And I think there might be a world for Joe 90.
Really? I think
yeah.
Jamie might need some persuading on that.
Yeah. I mean, I quite like it. I think it's. I don't know how we do it, but again, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
But I think there's something in that. I think Joe 90 might be quite fun
Okay.
to do. I mean, it might be a slightly different audience, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I think Terrorhawks would be probably at the top of my list, maybe to attempt. Because we've done UFO. A UFO would have been what I would have said, but obviously we've done that and I'm in that. So one more. Here we go. Juliet Legg. Has your dad been an influence in any of your work, and which of his creations did you enjoy the most? Oh, gosh.
Now, you were mentioning earlier over lunch that you were sort of making your way slowly through this huge back catalogue of stuff that your dad produced and wrote for.
Yeah,
That's a chore, isn't it? Not a chore. No, I should rephrase that. It's not a chore at all, I'm sure. But,
it can be emotional. I mean, it can be tough because you're like, okay, we're going through the past a lot. There's a lot of cobwebs as well. You need, you need to clean up a lot afterwards.
Yeah.
But it has taken me 10 years to go through the archive. I mean, not saying I'm spending 10 years. It's just whenever I get a chance to go back and do a little bit here and there of just going through everything, so at least I know what we have or we don't have. And there is honestly an alternate career of stuff that didn't get made, which we've now discovered. So that's quite exciting to see. Obviously some are, and I haven't read all of them, of course. There's just too much to read.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where AI comes in, to maybe read me and tell me what it's about.
But that's a rather sobering thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
That even a writer of your dad's calibre had stuff that was unproduced.
So much,
was
but
never
I mean,
made.
I'm not even joking. It's almost an alternate career. He never was precious about anything. If it didn't work, he'd move on. He just had another idea. Didn't hang on to the script that is not being made. He's like, well, fine, just let's
Like one
have
that will
another
get
idea.
made.
But absolutely, yes, he's been an influence. He could not be. And I think, like maybe a lot of young people, you kind of, when you're younger, not really did I reject my parents at all. I think they were very welcoming and nurturing of anything I wanted to do. And lots of my mates would come over and felt that they could kind of be more themselves at ours than anywhere else, because there was very little judgment, and it was a very sort of bohemian, free, open house. But there was a sort of, I think when I went to drama school, that sort of, I think you all, when you're growing up, you reject your parents because you're finding yourself and you're finding your own ideas, and you need to do that to discover your way in the world a little bit. But certainly now I feel more connected to him and his work than I did before. I think obviously he's no longer with us, and that is part of it. Yeah. But I can hear him, and I can understand him as a man now through his work and through his letters and all the things that I've been reading and found. But I think some of the works that, I mean, I think when I think about his output, I think The Avengers was an extraordinary creation, and something that obviously he didn't create the Avengers completely. Like it was sort of a team effort really over a long period of time. He did write the second episode ever brought to book, and they flipped a coin for it for who was going to do it first, and he went second. Yeah. So he may have written the first one if the coin had landed on the opposite side. But he created what we now know as the Avengers, really, which is, I suppose, when Diana Rigg took over, and I suppose when it became the surreal series that we now know it. So, and being able to do that on that scale is quite extraordinary. Like being able to have the freedom to do something. I mean, I know that he never, like he said, he's never laughed more when they were making the Avengers, because they had so much freedom to try things and try things out. So I think that is probably going to be the thing that he's most remembered for, maybe alongside maybe The Professionals as well, which was a completely opposite of that, sort of a rugged, 16 mil, sort of kick the doors down, ask questions later series, which has obviously spawned a lot of, imitations
That's
since
right.
then. So I think that my work, I'm most proud. I think probably not just of those. I think of how they're received. But I mean, the play that I'm adapting into a film is one of my favourites of his plays, because he wrote it so quickly. He smashed it out like this, and that's always amazing to me, because it's so well thought out. Like the plot is extremely detailed, and if you try and change something, it unravels everything. So, but he did it so quickly. But what I've realised in adapting it into this film that we're hopefully going to be making either later this year or hopefully next year, is that it's based on all of his experiences, or his family's experiences of World War II. And they're sort of combinations of people from my life that he probably wasn't even that aware of whilst he was writing it, but having almost had to study it and pull it apart and understand what inspired, where was this location from, and why are we here, and what's this happening, what's this character based on, and who are these. It's really a bit of a love letter to some of his family members through their experiences of World War II, because he was born in 1931, so sort of he had a great time I think, during the war. He was, as a young boy, it was it was very exciting for him.
That's right. Yeah,
not for everyone, obviously.
Yeah. Well, that's about all we have time for, Sam. But our viewers and listeners are always very keen to find people on social media if they can. So are you on X or Instagram that you'd care to share with us, where people can get in touch?
I don't use X as much anymore, I think. But it's at Josh Twain. That's my middle name, because I am related to Mark Twain, apparently. That's a nightmare on Google. And then on Instagram, it's at Sam JT Clemens. It's my Instagram. And if anyone wants to look at our film stuff, it's www.taketheshotfilms.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sam, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been lovely to see you, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.